Hello everyone, welcome back to Joy's Creative Finger. I've gone for the request option to build a prison, and it made me a little bit sad building it because it's a sad place. However, I do understand that individuals will always make poor choices, and as a result these institutions are built to rehabilitate them and of course keep members of the community safe. Now, as you can see here, I've placed the penthouse windows on the front part of the build, just running right through to the bottom because it gave it some kind of a look. It's quite nice. I know prisons aren't meant to be pretty, but it's just quite nice. And then I went for the smaller Scandinavian windows on the other parts of the front of the build. It makes it hard for prisoners to break out of small windows. On the rooftop I have some snipers, if you may, but they are basically more serious security personnel that keep an eye on the prison grounds, and they have all kinds of ammunition and all the adequate resources to keep the prisoners on the grounds here in check. I also have guards on the walls as well, and you would expect to see this in prisons. Having seen a lot of movies, you see a lot of guards walking around the fences and around the walls, and just basically keeping a good presence around so that the prisoners are safe in themselves and safe from each other, because a lot of horrible things happen on the prison grounds. People get hurt, there are terrible fights, and so these guards are here to really make sure that they keep the peace. There's a lot of interactive items on the grounds for the prisoners so that they don't get terribly bored and just basically keep their minds alive. They've got football, they've got some exercise machines, they've got seats to sit down on and chat, they've got a chance to make friends or enemies on the grounds out here, and they're only let out for a little while before they're sent back. And yes, they've got the basketball hoops as well. Now, access to their quarters are in the basement, and we'll have a look at that later. But before that, we have some security cameras up here. This is very necessary because there's only so much that the guards can see before they miss it. And so when the need arises, they can go back to the security screens in their CCTV room and be able to identify what would have gone wrong. I attempted building a prison twice in the past and demolished it because I just didn't have the right inspiration, and I didn't know how a prison should really look, and I had to make it authentic. So I did a little bit of research, and then with a few items that have been added to the game, I was able to put this together, and I hope it looks like a prison and the ins and outs run like a prison as well. I've got these party time event lights out front here, and I have a couple of them behind, and I'll show you that right now. The reason why these are in place is because I've watched a couple of movies, prison movies obviously, and when there is a breach in the prison, these lights would go off with a really loud sound and they would flash really bright light onto the prison grounds. Also, prisoners try to duck and dive away from the flash so that they can get through to a safe escape. These stairs are from the penthouse collection as well. I felt they worked brilliantly for this build. And what you see here is just an overview of the back part of the structure for my prison. The prison quarters are in the basement so that I could have enough grounds for them, and obviously a fence where I have, the guards keeping watch. Now we're going to tour the main build for the staff first, and what you see here is the entrance right in that angle. I have a Scandinavian door, it's a double door anyway, that leads into the main reception, and all these doors dotted around are my idea of a barbed wire fence. So we get in to the reception through this door. And what we have here is a guard in place waiting to receive prisoners and check them in. Now, he doesn't only check in prisoners, he also checks in guests who come to visit their loved ones, and we'll talk about that in a minute. These doors that you see here lead around to the back security room, so it's very secure and no one can get in there without security clearance. This is because there are controls to major access ways in the prison. So assuming there was a riot or an attempted breakout, with one click of a button, certain access ways would be shut down and it would be impossible to escape through those routes. The security staff comes back into the CCTV room and then can work his way through the barbed wire doors there into the staircase area. That staircase leads up to the rest of the prison officers' department, and in this section we have a number of guests who are waiting to see their loved ones. They've gone through the first stage of being checked, so they've put aside maybe sharp objects, their bags have been locked away. So many things have to be taken from them. And I guess they're supposed to have a little bit of money because they're able to purchase some food and share with their loved ones while they're visiting. We'll talk about that later. And so the next stage is to be checked by these dogs. So these are sniffer dogs. So if they have any controlled substances, these dogs will fish it out. Then they come through the security door into the waiting room where they will meet with their loved ones. And then after a set has cleared out, another set is led through to see another set of loved ones. These tan slats are fantastic. That's from the Love is Blind event. I thought I'd pop some in there. This door is the access way for the prisoners to come in and visit with their loved ones. So they would be waiting in the prison grounds, and they would be all cleaned up and tidy, waiting for their moment, and they would go through those archways. Now Justin here is in prison, but he's innocent. He hung out with the wrong crowd, a bunch of friends who were up to no good, had some controlled substances, and when the time came, the lawyers were able to get the culprits off, and they basically planted the evidence on him. And he's spending quite a long time in prison, and his aunt is here to visit him, and she's been ever so devastated since those unfortunate events. This happens a lot. There are a lot of innocent people in prison as well as guilty ones, but it's really sad when you're incarcerated for what you never did, for what you didn't do. This basically is what we have on this floor, and prisoners are delivered to this cage here, and then the guard checks them in, after which they lead the prisoner through this corridor, past these set of security doors, and out into the prison grounds. There are so many security doors in prisons. This is the staircase where the prisoner will be led down to his cell, and just before the staircase is another security door. When you see prison officers, they have a ton of keys on their belts, as they need to access quite a number of doors in a day. This set of double doors here lead to the first level for the staff. These are some of the prison officers who work here, taking note of the dates and times of when prisoners were brought in, when they're supposed to leave, when they need to visit the courts, and keeping track of good behavior and bad behavior. Those on good behavior get a shorter time in prison, they get let out earlier, and some get even extra time if they commit a crime in here. This is basically the admin staff that takes care of that. They have a boss in the corner here who has quite a number of accreditations, and he's quite good at what he does in the prison. He works long hours and spends some time in the prison at night as well, and so he has a place to rest if he works more than 24 hours at a go. And that's what we have on this floor. Now out these set of double doors, another set of security doors, we have a staircase that leads up to the next floor. When you come through those double doors, you get to a corridor and in through another set of doors, and you have a place for the staff to basically rest. So you remember those guards that were up on the fence? This is where they would come and rest and have something to eat, while another set of guards would replace them. They have a few bits and bobs to play around with. They've got the foosball table, they've got the TV, and they have a couple of restrooms as well. This is the way to get into the restroom through a tiny corridor, and here we are. We've got a unit there and another one in the corner over here, so it's adequate for them. They might have a snack or two while being in this room, but they do have an allocated place to sit down and eat. They have a chef that cooks for them, and they're able to purchase some really good food and basically get a good treat during the course of their tedious day. So here we are, just a number of police officers in here reading a book or two while they wait for their hot meal. And yeah, yeah, they have a drinks machine and a playing machine as well. I think working in a prison is quite a miserable job to do, in that I just don't see how you could be happy there. You certainly are happy you're getting paid, but I think it's just unpleasant in a way. So anything to cheer them up would be good. This staircase inside this corridor leads up to the last floor for this section of the build, and we have the big boss situated up here. Before that, you do remember I mentioned we had some of these tough guys on the roof. They have their ammunition stored in these cases. This came with a penthouse update in some of the houses that we built from the penthouse options, and I thought they'd work nicely in there. And this is the big boss's office. So he is the chief of the prison, and the guy downstairs would be his deputy, who works very long hours and has to spend the night on occasion in the prison. But he, on the other hand, would spend maybe 2-3 days in a week at this prison because he can. And he has an ensuite to himself in this space, and his office is very crisp and very clean. He's situated at the top here. In my mind, it's such that if there was a problem in the prison, he would be quite secure. It would take a long time before you could get to him, and he would have a lot of protection. So that's what we have for this entire structure in the front. And now we can go ahead and have a look at the prisoners' quarters in the basement. As I mentioned before, there's a security door in the corner that leads to that staircase, and once you come downstairs, you need a lot of sets of double doors for maximum security. I have a prison guard in the corner here who has supposedly a glass view of the prisoners filing in with some more guards, making sure that they all get into their various cells and then they're locked away. These beds from the teen event are fantastic. I prefer them to the green ones, and that's one of the reasons I couldn't do a prison. It just didn't look right. But these are grey, and most of the pictures I've seen online, all prisons are grey, just grey all the way. It's really miserable. So this is what it looks like in a cell. They have a table to write on, and they have a toilet unit in place. And it looks nothing like this in reality. And you will notice that the grey color matches the floor, and I really like that. It's perfect. So you've got the white bedding and the grey covers and the grey floors. This set of double doors then lead into the bathroom for them, and a lot of horrible things happen in here. Prisoners get killed, you know. Some of them get raped, beaten, and it's just not a place to end up. Now there's a break between that structure and the next, so you have to work your way back through the cells and then come through those double doors like that and back out to this set of double doors. Now before you come through there's a single door that leads into the space where they have their meals, where they eat. They've got some coffee machines on the side, and they are completely secluded from the staff who prepare the meals. In some prisons, the prisoners actually cook the food and serve the food and eat the food. But in this prison that I've built, there is staff that comes to cook for them. And this is the angle for the staff to get in and be safe, you know, from some really unruly prisoners. So once you come back out of that kitchen area, there is another secure section here, and we have a prison officer in place who's responsible for this isolation wing. There are only 2 of these isolation units here, and they have seriously secure doors. These prisoners are left in here for months, and they are never let out. So they even have a sink just to wash their faces. They're never let out. But yeah, you come out from there, and we have another set of doors that then break off to another section in the prison. This is the laundry room, and prisoners are meant to work this space anyway. They are responsible for washing their own clothes, so they have shifts, they have chores in prison. That's why I said in some prisons they actually do the cooking as well. Now we come through to another section here. As I say, every section we come to, there's a set of double doors for maximum security. But this is a glass door, it's bulletproof, and this is the prison pharmacist. She works here making sure that repeat prescriptions are coordinated with the doctors outside of the prison. These are the medications that have been brought in for prisoners who are ill or who have pre-existing conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure. These are the beddings that are used to change the beds in this section here. They're treated in that space. There's a basket here for used syringes and, items that were used to deal with the patients closely. And yeah, that's where they're taken care of. And when they feel a little bit better, they're sent back to their cells. The last section in this prison is the school. You must have heard that prisoners get their education in prison. So it's nicely put together so that they are inspired. They have a library in the corner here, and they have access to the prison web, so they can't go onto Yahoo or Google or anything like that. It's strictly just the prison web that they have access to, and they can get into educational material as the case may be. Across the way we have the room where they study, and we have a teacher already in place who finds it very rewarding doing this job because of inspiring these prisoners to re-enter society as better individuals. So that's what we have in the basement. I mean, there are some prisons that have chapels, but there wasn't space for that. I could have included that upstairs, but no. I just thought at some point you have to stop with these builds. You could just go on and on and on. But this is okay, in my opinion. And this is an overview for you. My favorite is the cells, to be honest. It's just the way it perfectly matches the floor. So, thank you so much for the suggestion, and it was a number of you that suggested that I build a prison. One of you specifically said, "Oh, I know it's very sad, but please do it," and it is sad. But I was happy that I put it together. There is one thing I didn't say. This crepe cart here is for someone who comes around to sell food. Remember I said that the visitors have some money left on them so that they can purchase some food, snacks to eat with the inmates who they came to visit. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. See you again soon. Bye.